Welcome to Inside Artesian Basketball here on WREP 15 Sports. I'm your host, Eric Meyer, joined by Lady Artesian head coach, Jessi Johnson. And Coach, we first want to welcome you here to Martinsville High School. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
And glad to have you here on the show. We've got a lot to talk about here in our first edition of the year. We're going to talk with the coach a little bit about her background. We're going to talk with her about her kind of whirlwind introduction into Martinsville High School. Started in May and had to get summer things going. Has done a great job of getting the girls ready to play. We'll obviously talk about the team. We'll talk about the first two games of the season and take a look ahead to the Artesians contest coming up this weekend as well. Let's get to you, though, first. The obvious question to get go, you've had some success. You come from Clinton Prairie. Why Martinsville High School when you had a choice here to come here?
When you talk about, Martinsville basketball, there's obviously a rich tradition and that rich history. And I just really felt, when I saw the job posting, that it was something that I would like to be a part of. Since I've gotten here, it's held true. The kids play hard. They're good kids. And hopefully we can kind of re-energize the basketball program to get to, its former glory.
Talking about the former glory, a couple of state championships for Martinsville, and you're familiar with Martinsville. You're from around the central Indiana area. You went to high school at Perry Meridian, and really some of your basketball philosophy comes from the basketball coaches there with Mike Armstrong and also with Mark Barnheiser. You've been at Center Grove. You've been at Greenwood. Can you talk just a little bit about your background and your basketball background?
Absolutely. I went to Perry Meridian High School, and they just gave us, myself and my teammates, just a great background for basketball. We were raised second grade up playing together, and I think that playing for Mike just really showed, or at least taught me, what kind of things that you have to have as not only a player but a coach and a person in life. So he is somebody who I still look up to today. Mark Barnheiser, he was the boys coach when I was at Perry, and he always just went out of his way to continue to help me grow as a player. And I really kind of picked up on his very intense and passionate way of coaching, and I think that you can kind of see that if you watch me on the sidelines a little bit. Going to Center Grove, Sean Sanders was the head coach, and he gave me a great opportunity at 19 years old to become a freshman basketball coach. So after 3 years at Center Grove, I feel like I've had, dove in and really had a good understanding of what high school basketball was about. I took my first teaching job at Greenwood, where I also became the JV coach for a year before going to Clinton Prairie to be the head coach for the past 3 years.
You've had a lot of success at Clinton Prairie, and when the people were looking at hiring you, and some of the things they were talking about was the fact that defensively, that's kind of where you've kind of laid your groundwork, if you will, made your name for yourself. Defensively, your teams do not give up very many points. They play hard-nosed defense. Can you talk a little bit about maybe what your basketball philosophy is? I know people ask that question. It's kind of generic sometimes, but some of the things that you want to do offensively and defensively.
Defensively, Perry Meridian, we were a man-to-man program from the day I started to the day I finished. I believe in kind of mixing your defenses a little bit, especially for what we have and what we have coming up on our schedule. But I also believe that you have to be the aggressor on defense. You want to bring that intensity. So I think that we're slowly starting to see that in our kids, kind of change from letting the offense dictate what's happening to us dictate what's happening. Offensively, we're going to push the ball and we're going to run this year. We have some great athletes who I think can get out and beat our opponents up and down the court. That's kind of where we're going to start offensively in terms of hopefully where this is going to go this season.
You talked a little bit about your philosophies offensively and defensively. You mentioned your coaches, your influences that you've had a little bit, and now you come here to Martinsville. Like we said, it's kind of been a whirlwind. You get hired in May, and people know that are familiar with basketball that summer how important it is, and getting the kids together, getting things organized, really at every level of what you want to do with your program. It's not just about the high school, but it's building it all the way down to the grade school, like you said you were accustomed to when you were at Perry Meridian. Can you just talk a little bit about what the work and things that you've done there in that time since you've been here at Martinsville?
Absolutely. So coming in, basically getting started in June, we held a youth camp for a week. So that was K through 8. We went to a few shootouts with our high school players. And then at the end of June, we had a big team camp. So we went to Vincennes University. We spent 4 nights together down there. In my opinion, we really bonded as a team. We had a lot of fun. And we obviously played a lot of basketball. In July, we kind of came in. We lifted with Coach Breach. We kind of got those things organized. And then we really started focusing on our youth program. So August and September, we really focused on those youth and getting our teams for Indy Girls Hoops League together. So we now have between 85 and 90 kids starting in a couple weeks playing those IGHL league games.
And like you said, that's where you really build the program, and you guys have talked about it as well. That's kind of how you grew up, and you could tell in the conversations we've had as well how you really are taking the things that you've learned throughout your career and trying to apply them to what you're trying to do here at Martinsville.
Absolutely. I think, if you kind of invigorate that youth program, they're going to want to continue to improve their skills and their fundamentals and ultimately come and play for, hopefully, me in high school when they get here. And so that's our goal with those youth, is to kind of show them that we are invested in them today.
You've got that youth program you're looking at. You've also got the high school programming you're looking at. Some players that are coming back, but really you're coming into a situation where 3 girls in particular had graduated that had really led this team. So you're kind of in a situation where you're looking for some points. Everything's starting new. I'm sure it's been a little bit of a difficult transition to be able to try to get things going here initially at the high school.
Absolutely. I don't think it's been a bad transition. I just think it's been a little bit rocky, if you will. We are returning about 15 points a game, which is not easy to step into a new season. Luckily, I think we have several kids who are capable. I just don't think that they were given the opportunity in the past. So, kind of getting their feet wet and kind of doing that quickly has been our little bit of struggle in the beginning.
And you've seen some of those kids start to kind of step up. You've got some kids, like we said, returning from last year, a couple of new kids coming in as well. Can you talk a little bit about your ball club and what you like so far, what you've seen out of them, and some things where you think you need to work to improve as the season progresses?
Mm-hmm. So far, I really liked how much effort that they put out on the court, especially in our first 2 games defensively. Against Avon really impressed me. And then in our Indian Creek game, we had some ups and downs. It wasn't the smoothest of wins. However, they continued to pursue, our game plan the entire game, regardless of what girls we had to sub in because of foul trouble and whatnot. So the few things that I think that we need to work on is just, again, working together and playing as a team. I think not having 5 girls that have played together before is not something that comes easy or natural. So we strive every day to try to push them to just jive a little bit more or get used to each other on the basketball court.
Like you said, replacing all those points that graduated is tough to do, trying to build some chemistry with some new people. But you've got some kids that have done there before with Jessi Johnson. Bethany Mackin leading the way. You've got Marlena Kemp in there as well, but you've got some young girls, Patience Walker. I'm going to forget some people here, Paige Dorsett as well, that have come in. So you've got a group of girls that have played before, so that's obviously helped a little bit with that transition as well.
Absolutely, and those are kids that have bought into everything that we've asked them to do and have tried to the best of their abilities. And so I think it will continue to get better, throughout the season.
Like you said, you opened up the season with Avon and Indian Creek. Let's start with Avon to begin with. And this is a team that had some success last year. People may forget, they kind of surprised Martinsville out of the gate last year. Martinsville came in with a high ranking, and you go to Avon, and at one point, Martinsville had like 5 points in the game. Avon ended up winning that contest. So it's a good Avon ball club that was learning how to play. They present some problems, and I know you alluded to it as well, because they have so much size. And it's kind of unique in terms of some of their size that'll come out on the court. They can handle, very athletic. They have the girl that finished 4th in the state in the discus, and she's out front handling the basketball at times. So they presented some problems to you guys in that first game, but that's what you were going to expect as well.
Absolutely. I think that our girls returning have had a little bit of a bitter taste in their mouth from the Avon game last year. And we just talked about how, the first game, the only expectation is that we go out there and compete to the best of our ability. You look at the score at the end of a game and we lose by 13. And in my opinion, it wasn't a 13-point game. We missed a crazy amount of free throws. more layups than I can count right now. And so, we were really in the game for at least the entire first half. So I was proud of their efforts that game, and I think that they were a little shocked at how, they could play with girls like that, or, we can match up with girls who are handling the ball, or 6 foot wing kind of girl that we can, compete, and we can keep up with those girls. So, even though it wasn't the way we wanted to start the season, I think it was a good step in the right direction.
Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the highlights from the Avon contest. We'll pick them up in the second half of play. Here you guys on the offensive, running one of your sets here offensively.
Yes, this was one that we scored on several times against Avon. It's one of our sets that our kids really believe in, and I think that it was an easy backdoor layup, which we needed at that point in the game.
Bethany Mackin on the three-point, a little bit of a step back. They laid off of her a little bit and gave her some driving lanes, and you're going to see another three-pointer here as well out of Patience Walker.
Yeah, I think both of those girls have really worked for their shot. I think Bethany has a better off-the-dribble shot, since this summer when she gets her legs under her, and Patience the same thing is when she is ready to shoot and kind of flips her wrist. She is a pretty spot-on shooter.
See Bethany again get into the lane. Just before that, though, you saw Delaney Wolf, the freshman that came in and played really well this past weekend.
Absolutely. Delaney came in the first 2 games and really stepped up for us. Not having any varsity minutes or experience, she absolutely came in and she scored. She got defensive stops. And there she is again, kind of driving to the bucket. So we are really excited to see what she does the rest of this season.
And here you go again. She doesn't get the shot here, but Marlena down low with the rebound, able to get the putback. So as you go back and look at some of those highlights and look at some of those things, see a little bit of the smile on your face, you see the success and what the good things that the kids did. But coming out of that game, we talked about it a little bit. What do you take away from that contest, your opener against Avon?
We take away that our kids are really starting to believe in the defenses that we're putting in front of them. We played a matchup zone the first half, and they really bought into, hey, coach, we can play this, which we obviously were trying to convince them of for a couple weeks now. And then I also take away that, we just can never settle on, thinking that they are going to, work on their kind of free throws or, be good passers on our own. So those little things that we continue to need to work on in practice is just kind of a note to the coaching staff that we need to remember.
So you play Avon in the opener, and like we said, we knew Avon coming in was going to have a quality team coming back. Game number 2, you have an Indian Creek team that also lost some kids that have been around for a long time, and coming in, it's their first game. I went down on the bench before the game, and I was talking to Chris. He had a scouting report. He's like, this is last year's scouting report because they haven't played yet. You have no chance to look at them. So that obviously puts you guys in a little bit of a situation, too, where it's tough to be able to prepare for a team when you don't know what you're preparing for.
Absolutely, and Chris has been great these last couple games. Taking what we have from last year, the information, and kind of giving us his best assessment as to what is coming. But, I think that we had a little bit of the advantage in this game, kind of getting our nerves out against Avon and really, having a game plan as to, hey, this is what we're going to do, regardless of what they throw at us. These are our kind of goals and the things that we want to achieve this game.
Well, I mentioned it a couple of times on the broadcast because obviously coming in, you're trying to hang your hat on defense. That's what people had talked about, what you'd been known for. And defensively at the start of that game, it's kind of helter-skelter back and forth, but a lot of steals led to some easy transition buckets for you guys.
Absolutely. With our athleticism and our speed that I think that we have, we have to get those transition buckets. We have to push the ball. And we do kind of rely on those easy, little layups or kick-out jump shots for some of our scoring.
Got off to a good start. Indian Creek kind of got their feet underneath of them. I don't know what Coach Ferris said at the halftime, but he maybe got his kids fired up. They came out in the second half and really, even you took a timeout early to kind of get things settled down. It looked like for one possession it got settled down. They came back really and played well. But to your team's credit, after they made their run back at you, you guys kind of settled things down a little bit and were able to come away with a victory.
Absolutely, and in the moment, I was pretty heated about why we were not kind of stepping up to the plate and getting defensive stops. But looking back, again, it's something that I think will help our team in the future. Realizing that basketball is a game of runs, and so they're going to go on a little bit of a run. How are you going to react to that, and how are we going to combat that? And I think that overall they did a very good job.
Come away with a victory over Indian Creek in the second game. Your first win as an Artesian. Congratulations for that. Let's take a look at some of the highlights from the win over Indian Creek. There's a lot of them here early on. We talk about defense, and it's Patience Walker here with the steal, and an athletic Bethany Mack can get in the lane for the layup.
Absolutely. Bethany got to the rim a lot this game, and it just shows that her toughness and her athleticism. And again, here's one where Patience is pushing the ball up the court. She, hands down, is the most athletic kid on our team. And so to see her utilize that athleticism is exactly what we need to see.
You're going to see a lot of full court here. You mentioned Bethany comes away with it here, and like you said, getting to the lane and attacking the rim.
Absolutely. That is, in my opinion, that's her strength. It's kind of getting to the bucket, taking that contact, and finishing.
The pull-up jump shot there again by Patience is you're going to see on the half court, kind of running some sets here, some pick and roll. Paige did a nice job of using her strength down low also.
Absolutely. I think our pick and roll is something that we go to quite often with Paige and Marlena in the basketball game. They both roll to the basket well and can finish strong.
You'll see a little bit of here, some of the handoffs up top, kind of what you've seen in the game here, at least the college game lately. You see a lot of that, and it leads to the drive and the kickoff and the kickouts. What are you guys trying to accomplish with some of that action that you guys are doing out on top?
Absolutely. With our weave action, we want in our opinion, our three best guards who are capable of attacking that middle to get into the lane and then make a decision. They can either, score the basketball, or they can draw in that defense from the girls in the corner to kick out for a jump shot. We saw some jump shots made earlier in the corner, and I think that really helps spread the defense out for later drives.
You saw the layup there. You saw Patience and Ashlyn combining there, and it was good to see for them to be able to get. And Ashlyn, I think, finished with 9 points in the contest as well.
Yes, she stepped in and played really well, as well as Delaney. Both of our freshmen came in at times that we were in some foul trouble and really stepped up.
And it was really kind of like when here's in the midst of where Indian Creek's kind of making that little bit of a run, you guys have, I think, 3 straight possessions, maybe more than that. They came out there in that 3-2 kind of a sagging, really kind of had Berkman kind of sag back in the middle. But it was interesting to watch and how you were able to communicate to the kids what you wanted them to do. And then I think you changed something a little bit, and you got some open looks on the next possession down the court.
Absolutely. We kind of had thought that they might come out with a 3-2 zone at some point. And so our kids were ready, and so they just took that direction from the bench and the sideline pretty well and got some buckets during that time.
Again here, like we said, a lot of full court stuff. Ashlyn taking it the distance right there at the end of the quarter to put you guys up by 13 going into the break.
And her athleticism and strength is something that she will be able to use, I think, at the varsity level, as we progress throughout the year. And then here again, Bethany, this game, stepped up, not only getting to the bucket, as we've seen several times, but she handled the ball for a good majority of the game, which, again, is a little bit out of position for her, but I think she did just a great job.
Right there was kind of the end of a sequence between a little two-man game between her and Patience that led to an easy bucket. And Ashlyn, again, stepping out on a jump shot.
Absolutely. We want to continue to see, our kids work together and play together. And I think that is just, one of many examples of our kids learning each other and learning how to play together.
A drive, you see, that's just a confidence there because really she did not beat Berkman on that drive. She has her in front of her and, feels her on her hip, but able to get in there. And you kind of see the glimpses. You see some things. I know you've got to be excited with some of the pieces that you're seeing out here that I'm sure you see every day in practice.
Absolutely. We just, we preach consistency, as I'm sure any coach would. And so just to get our girls to play at that level with that intensity and that effort day in and day out for every game is what we're striving for.
This is not an easy schedule that you guys have. I mean, you play some tough teams right out of the get-go. You're going to play a perennial power coming up this weekend in Columbus North, and then on the road at Terre Haute North. But obviously, we talked about it when we had Coach Whitson on here. He says it's kind of kooky in Indiana that everybody gets played in the playoffs in football, but in basketball, that's all we've known, all you've known. Everybody plays, so really the regular season, although great, you want to do well in it, it's really you're trying to build for the postseason and get better.
Absolutely. We are going to see not only solid teams this weekend, but in the future, we play the state runner-up. We play the state runner-up from Illinois. And so, that's really building towards the postseason and how are we going to be competitive in our sectional.
Let's talk a little bit. You've got a couple of games, like we said, coming up this weekend. You've got the Columbus North matchup coming up on Friday, and then on Saturday you'll travel to Terre Haute North. I know starting to get ready for them and prepared for them. Can you talk a little bit about what you know so far or what you'll expect out of at least Columbus North coming up on Friday?
I expect Columbus North to just be a solid team. They are, defensively probably going to be very sound. And I think that, they are going to be scrappy when they have to be, and they are going to be fundamentally sound. Just because I think Pat McKee is a great coach. And then Saturday, again, I just expect to kind of see some more man-to-man defense and maybe Terre Haute trying to push the ball a little bit on us.
When you talk about Columbus North, I think you're going scouting today, I think, to be able to get a look at Columbus North and how important, every coach kind of takes it different, how important is that for you to be able to physically sit down and take a look at a team that you're going to play against?
I like to physically be present, especially now being at a new school and having a new schedule, playing new teams. I like to see my opponents firsthand. We watch tons of film, and I have, like I said, I have a great staff who appreciates that same thing, the same kind of, just time
Right.
and having those visuals. So yeah, that's super important to not only my staff, but it'll be very important to our team in the future.
So you have Columbus North, like we said, coming up. Then you have Terre Haute North. You talked a little about your schedule overall and how tough it is. How do you kind of approach the season? Do you have some goals that you're looking at trying to accomplish? What do you try to do to get the kids ready for, like we said, the postseason?
We don't have any hard and fast goals. It's not, hey, we're going to win the sectional. We're going to do this and this and this and beat this team. The overall goal of the regular season is to improve. So I think if we're moving in that direction through these 22 games, then we will have accomplished our goal for the regular season.
All right, Coach, we appreciate you joining us. We'll be talking with you throughout the season here on Inside Artesian Basketball. Get out and support the Artesians. Fun team to watch. They get after you defensively, and when they get the ball in the open court, they got some kids that can make some things happen as well. So get a chance to get out there to the John R. Wooden Gymnasium or go on the road and help support the Artesians. Coach, as always, we appreciate you taking time to join us, and we'll see you again next week.
Thank you.
That's Artesian head coach Jessi Johnson here inside Artesian Basketball. Martinsville coming up, like we said, this weekend. Columbus North and Terre Haute North, the opponent. I'd like to thank the head coach for coming in, for Jessi Johnson, along with the RTV2 class who helped produce it. I'm Eric Meyer. We'll see you again next time inside Artesian Basketball.